for science!
What is up, guys? My name is Willie Dills, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the new cards coming out in the One Night in Karazhan expansion. It's not expansion, it's an adventure. And it should be a lot of fun. There are 45 total cards, and today we're just going to go over 9 of them. We're going to break this up into 5 parts. We're not doing these in any particular order. We are just doing 9 of the cards that we already have, and as they come out, we'll continue to make more and more videos about them. All of these cards are brand new. We do not know the full set, so everything that I say about these cards is all just conjecture. I'm making it up as I go along. We don't know what other cards are coming, which may or may not make some of the cards that we've seen so far better or worse. And obviously, once we've had a chance to play with them, we'll have more of an idea. But it's fun to talk about, right? So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we'll start with one of the first cards we saw. The Ivory Night. So the Ivory Night is a 6-mana 4/4. It is a paladin card. It is rare and has a battle cry. Discover a spell. Restore health to your hero equal to its cost. So essentially you will discover a paladin spell, and however much that paladin spell costs, you will be healed for that amount. So there's a few things to note about this card. Obviously a 6-mana 4/4 is pretty bad, but the fact that you're drawing a card kind of makes up for that. If you think about the Azure Drake as a 5-mana 4/4 that draws a card out of your deck. Now here we're drawing a card that we discover, so it's not a card that exists in our deck. We may end up with some pretty bad options, but the fact that it's discover means I get to choose a card that might be better than a card randomly from my deck for that particular situation that I find myself in. So in that respect, it's, I think, slightly better than just drawing a random card. The discover mechanic is actually quite impressive in what it can pull off. The amount of health you gain will tip your hand to the opponent. The opponent will now know what type of spell you've drawn. At least they'll know a range, right? A lot of spells in Paladin cost 4, but you've also got things like, you know, if you heal for 8, they pretty much know you got lay on hands, right? If you heal for 2, they're probably going to guess equality. That being said, that's not a huge drawback to the card. The biggest drawback to the card is that you pay 6 mana for a 4/4. That's the biggest drawback. I think this will be played in some very slow and greedy decks. I don't know if we'll see 2 of these. I think a 1-of might make a little bit more sense. But in a really, really slow N'Zoth type paladin, sure, why not? All right, the Kindly Grandmother. This is a hunter card. It's a 2-mana 1/1. It has a death rattle. Summon a 3/2 big bad wolf. So the 3/2 big bad wolf is also a beast as well. We should point out that this is a beast. That's a pretty big deal when you're talking about hunter. If a hunter plays this on turn 2 or coins it on turn 1, you will be forced to make a decision to just leave the 1/1 up, choose not to kill it, and then eventually it will run into something, get its 1 damage in, become a 3/2, or it'll just start pinging your face for 1 until you find the ability and the resources to deal with it. The fact that both of them are beasts is really strong, because hunters obviously activate quite a few things. You know, Houndmaster, Kill Command. These are very powerful cards once you have a beast on the board. Lots of sticky beasts now. So it's an interesting spot for hunters to be in now that they are one of the stickier and more aggressive classes that you're going to find. I feel like this card is going to be included in tons and tons of different hunter decks, whether they be super aggressive or more mid-rangey. I think this card fits in quite nicely. So, you know, I'm paying 2 mana for 4/3 total stats is just pretty good. All right, the 1-mana 2/2. This is a druid card, and it's a beast as well. So clearly Blizzard is still trying to push for that beast druid to happen. Now I know people, you know, you could say stop trying to make fetch happen. Beast druid's not going to happen. But, you know, just a couple more tools can often unlock. You know, we saw dragon decks really not unlock with Blackrock Mountain, but really kind of unlock with the Grand Tournament and just a couple of new cards, right? We're able to make Dragon Warriors or Dragon Priest and now Dragon Warrior much more of a thing. It's just a couple cards that are missing. Once you have like a decent kit to start with, but you're just needing a couple more to push you over the edge, it might only take 1 card. And plus, we haven't seen the rest of the Druid cards yet. We've only seen, I think, 1 other one. So this does give you some interesting options, though. I mean, obviously, you play this on turn 1, then you mark Yashiraj it on turn 2, or innervate that out, and you cycle a card and you make a 4/4. And a 4/4 should get a lot of work done in the early games. So I feel like this card will definitely see some play. As far as it being like broken, like a 1-mana 2/2, I don't think is broken. It being a beast, though, does allow you to potentially make some sort of the beastly combos that I think they're trying to unlock for Beast Druid. May be possible, but time will tell. I think this card is fair. I don't think this card is OP. It's a class card, so only Druid gets to use this. I don't see this becoming something that makes Druid suddenly a problem, some unstoppable force. They're pretty good already, man. They're doing just fine. All right, we've got the Ethereal Peddler, which is a 5 mana 6, or 5 mana 5/6, excuse me. It's a rogue card. It's a rare battle cry. Reduce the cost of cards in your hand from other classes by 2. As it stands now, the ways to get cards from other classes into your deck or into your hand as a rogue is Burgle, Undercity Huckster. Undercity Huckster is seeing a lot of play. It's a, it's a 2 mana 2/2 with a death rattle to put a random class card from the opponent into your hand. Burgle does not see play. Maybe this puts Burgle into a spot where you could see it. I think they need something else, though. And I'm not talking about Grand Crusader, and I'm not talking about Nefarian. They probably need something else that's rogue specific, that is going to like reliably put cards into your hand that are decent and also give you some sort of decent body. This gives you a decent body, 5 mana 5/6. So, getting cards to become cheaper plus getting a 5 mana 5/6 on the board is good. It's just a matter of, I need to get at least, I think, 1 or 2 cards for sure in my hand every single time I get to turn 5. Then I can reliably discount with this card for this to, I think, be pushed into the playable slot. The Babbling Book. I see what you did there, Blizzard. This is a 1 mana 1/1. It's a mage card. It's a rare with a battle cry that reads, add a random mage spell to your hand. The problem with this card is that it's a 1 mana 1/1, and that's pretty bad. You could play a 0 mana 1/1 if you really wanted to. And the battle cry of adding a random mage spell to your hand seems fairly decent. Now, I said on the Angry Chicken that I thought this card would be pretty good. Thinking about it a little bit more, I'm not so sure. Just because I think when you're talking about 30 cards that you can fit into your deck, am I going to be able to find 2 cards I'd rather not have over this? I don't think so. I think they're going to be cards that are just going to be inherently better. That being said, I do foresee this being a decent card in Arena just because card advantage can go a long way. It's essentially cycling a card because in Arena all your cards are kind of random anyway. So it's essentially cycling a card, and sometimes you'll get really lucky, sometimes you won't get so lucky. Either way, I think it's decent there. As far as Constructed goes, I'm not sure it reaches that power level. Like, things in Constructed need to be somewhat broken to an extent. They need to be they need to be better than an average card, right? Or they need to have some major synergy with other cards that are already in your deck. Now, this gives you another spell. The spell is random. You could end up just fizzling out with the spell that you get. The Yogg deck could maybe make use of this just to enable you to have more spells as well as a minion. Like, the minion plus the spell is okay. I'm not convinced yet. I'm going to need to see this in action before I can deem this a good card. Right now, I feel like it's underwhelming. Malchezaar's Imp. So Malchezaar's Imp is a warlock card. 1 mana 1/3. It's a demon. It's common. It reads, whenever you discard a card, draw a card. So Fist of Jaraxxus was added recently. We've obviously had Doomguard, which discards cards. Succubus. There's definitely cards out there that are discarding cards, but we haven't had enough cards that obviously Soulfire. We haven't had enough cards yet that benefit from this enough. So the fact that Malchezaar's Imp draws you a card, it does in a way kind of thin your deck out and gets you to maybe really good cards that you want to get to. The problem is that you might be discarding cards. So this won't be like a combo piece card at all, but you can put in these kind of overpowered cards with the penalty of discarding, where when that penalty happens, it's not actually a penalty anymore. And the fact that it's 1 mana, you can oftentimes probably fit it into a turn you're going to play some discard cards. So, on turn 1, you play this. On turn 2, you Soulfire something and play another 1-drop. I'm seeing it as a very aggressive card in aggressive decks. And the 1/3 stats for 1 are fine and fit that. So, with other buffing cards, abusive sergeants, things like that, you can make use of the body. And maybe this is some sort of a kind of a face discard warlock deck that runs the Fist of Jaraxxus and all that kind of stuff and Doom Guards, and just tries to kill you as fast as possible and doesn't worry about the fact that it's discarding a lot because now it's drawing again. And of course you life tap to refill anyway. So there's a place for this card. I really do think so. That said, I'm not sure that that deck is going to be some sort of premium deck, but I'm sure people will try to make it happen. It seems like a fun mechanic to me, and I'm glad that they're finally starting to address the fact that they've got all these discard cards. Where am I benefiting? Where's the part where I get something back? You know, think about Overload. You know, you get a really powerful spell or card for less than it's supposed to cost, then you pay for that later. But now I can unlock my Overload with other cards, or I can actually buff cards with the Overload with things like Tunnel Trog. So this is the kind of the thing that was missing for discard to be a mechanic that really does define Warlock, because it is on a lot of Warlock cards. We just don't have the benefit from it. You can't find that benefit, and here you go. Now you finally got something that does that. The Bookworm. This is a 6-mana 3/6. That sounds bad. It's a dragon. It's a rare. It's a neutral. Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, destroy an enemy minion with 3 attack or less. Okay, well that's a powerful effect for sure, especially it's a Battle Cry. You can target this. It doesn't say random. You know, I think Dragon Paladin could definitely make use of this. You know, you can Aldor Peacekeeper or Humility something down to 1 attack, and then you can kill anything with the Bookworm. Dragon Paladin is not quite found its groove, but maybe with a little bit more removal that you can also attach to a body, that maybe could move up. You can, instead of having Kodos, you play this. It's also a dragon, so it activates other dragons. If you can make this 2 mana cheaper, it's a 4-mana 3/6. Kills 3 attack or less minions. Now, I've seen the argument that by turn 6, there's going to be less 3 attack minions out there. So let's say you're running this and say a controlling dragon warrior. But the fact is that no matter when it is in the game, people are still playing the cards in their hands. So yes, there are more likely to be big minions, but it doesn't necessarily mean there is less likely to be small minions. There's still going to be really important smaller minions out there that do very specific things that people still end up playing. I mean, think about on later turns, you'll be able to use this to kill a Violet Teacher. You'll be able to use this to kill Imp Gang Boss without giving it any imps, right, against zoo decks. There's going to be plenty of cards out there that you will be able to target with this. If it was 2 or less, we'd have a real issue with this card. But the fact that it's 3 or less opens things up a little bit more, I think. So I think this card will see play in Dragon decks. Well, not in like the aggressive current version of Dragon Warrior, I don't think, but in the slower version of Dragon Warrior that's going to run cards like Ysera. Yeah, I think you could see this card definitely do some work. It's just another way. On 5 mana, you know, you're dealing 3 damage to something and playing a 5/4, and then on 6 mana, you're killing something with 3 or less attack. You're really controlling the board while putting minions on it as well. I think there's something there. We'll see. We'll have to see. Time will tell, but I'm optimistic about this card. All right, we've got the Pompous Thespian. This is a neutral 2-mana 3/2 with Taunt, and it's a common card. This will be a decent 2-drop in Arena just for the 2-mana 3/2 stats, and the Taunt is just kind of tacked on. I don't see this as necessarily being some awesome new anti-aggro tech. If it was a 2-mana 2/3 with Taunt, maybe we'd have something here. The 3/2 stat line, it's a little more aggressive. So possibly what we're looking at here is a bit of an attempt to add more tools to bolster Taunt Warriors. I don't know. This card doesn't excite me very much. I don't think it should. And the final card, Zoobot. I don't know what to make of this card yet. I really don't. So 3-mana 3/3. The stats are fine. They're nothing special. 3-mana 3/4 is obviously much preferred. But it's Battle Cry. It is a neutral common. It's a mech. It's Battle Cry. Give a random friendly beast, dragon, and Murloc +1/+1. So we've seen the legendary card that will draw you a beast, dragon, and Murloc. 7-mana 4/6 with Taunt. Now we've got another card with the text beast, dragon, and Murloc on it. So I don't know if they're trying to actually make a thing where you play 4 different tribes in one deck. Beasts, dragons, Murlocs, and mechs. I don't think that's the point here, but I think the point is that if you can play a couple of each that are decent for what they do, regardless of their tribe, that then you can potentially, like, if you could buff 2 cards with this, you're getting 5, you know, 5/5 in stats for 3. That seems pretty good. The problem, I think, is how often will that really happen? I just don't think it's good yet, because it's not often going to do the magical thing of giving you the top tier version is +6 plus, or a 6/6 for 3 essentially, right? If you have all 3 archetypes on the board and then you hit this and it buffs 3 different creatures, that's sweet, but not going to happen that often. All right, well, that's going to do it. That's 9 cards down. We're going to keep this going. This is part 1 of 5. I know that I'm giving you just a super brief look at these cards. We're going to know more and more as time goes on. So as I revisit these cards, when I talk about other cards, we might get a more clear picture. And as soon as the Karazhan Adventure actually comes out, we'll definitely have a better idea of how good or bad these cards are with a little bit of play testing. I'm excited to do some deck techs and all that for when the adventure hits with some of the new decks and deck lists that become possible. It's really, really fun. So make sure you guys catch me again for episode 2 of this. We will be doing another 9 cards. And again, 5 total episodes will happen here. But also, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Also, twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. Twitter @WillieDills. You can follow that too. Anyway, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love you, and I'll see you guys later.